There are dozens of classic American novels,
is
but there are
traditionally
a few
considered
that are
and that was also
Revolutionary period, and with it came a flood of political
Oral
writings.
tradition was the primary mode of literary expression.
Good afternoon, everyone! Welcome to Fact or Bluff, English Literature Edition. So, hello, my dear audiences. It's just you and me. No buzzers, no contestants, but you still got to play along. I'll try out a statement from the world of English and American literature, and your job is to decide in your head, is it a fact or is it a bluff? Don't worry, I'll reveal the answers right after and will uncover the fascinating information behind these works and authors together. Introducing the first round, let's begin with the Old English period, also known as Anglo-Saxon era. Here comes your first statement. Now listen carefully. Beowulf is the most famous Old English epic. If you guess fact, then you are correct. Beowulf is indeed the most famous Old English epic poem. Written by an anonymous author, it blends heroic Germanic traditions with Christian themes. To this day, it remains the crown jewel of Anglo-Saxon literature, a story of bravery, faith, and eternal struggle between God and evil. Alright, let's move on to our second statement here in this round. Here's your next statement. Listen carefully now. Wolf wrote Caedmon Hymn. If you guess bluff, then you are correct. And here's why. Wolf is not the author of Caedmon Hymn. That poem was written by Caedmon himself, the earliest named English poet. Caedmon Hymn is a 9-line Old English poem praising God as the creator of heaven and earth. Wolf, on the other hand, is regarded as one of the leading figures of Anglo-Saxon Christian poetry. We know his name because he embedded runic signatures into 4 of his works. These are the Fates of the Apostles, Juliana, Eileen, and Christ II. Now, let's move on to our second round, which is the Middle English period. Spanning from 1066 to about 1500, this was the age when English absorbed French and Latin influences after the Norman slowly evolving into a form of English that looks more familiar to us today. For the first statement of this round, Geoffrey Chaucer wrote the Canterbury Tales. If you guess bluff, then you are wrong. The statement is a fact. Chaucer's Canterbury Tales is the masterpiece of Middle English literature. It presents a lively collection of stories told by pilgrims, offering humor, social critique, and vivid portraits of medieval life. For your second statement, Thomas Malory wrote The Mud Otter. If you guess fact, then you are correct. Malory's work retells the legends of King Arthur and his knights, shaping the enduring image of chivalry, honor, and tragic downfall in English tradition. For your third statement, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight is an Arthurian romance about chivalry and morality. I'll give you 5 seconds to answer. If you guess fact, then again, you are correct. This anonymous masterpiece explores themes of bravery, temptation, and moral testing, reflecting the fascination with knightly honor and courtly love during the Middle English period. So here's the wrap-up of this period. Early writings were mostly religious, but from the mid-14th century onward, secular literature flourished. This period gave us enduring classics like Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur, Langland's Pure Plowman, and the anonymous Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Themes of morality, chivalry, courtly love, and adventure defined the age, making the Middle English period a bridge between the old tradition and the beginning of a modern English literature.
We are all familiar with the term Renaissance, a period in European civilization where art as a whole was transcended to a higher level. The English Renaissance focuses on written art as distinguished from the likes of Italian Renaissance, most commonly known on painting and visual art. English Renaissance derives the names of their periods from the current rulers of England at the time the age was established.
Come, bitter conduct, come, unsavory guide, thou desperate pilot, now at once run on. The dashing rocks, thy seasick weary bark, here's to my love. O true apothecary, thy drugs are quick, thus with a kiss I die.
Taken from Romeo and Juliet by perhaps the most famous author of all time, writer of Hamlet, Richard III, A Midsummer Night's Dream, The Merchant of Venice, Macbeth, and so on, often called England's national poet and the Bard of Avon, or simply the Bard, William Shakespeare, alongside writers such as Christopher Marlowe, Francis Bacon, Edmund Spenser, Sir Warley Raleigh, comprising the notable authors of the Elizabethan Age.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light.
The King James Bible was created in the Jacobean Age, written by a committee of 47 scholars and clergymen appointed by King James. Widely known writers in this period include John Donne, Michael Drayton, John Webster, Elizabeth Carey, Ben Jonson, and Lady Mary Roth. Of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree, whose mortal taste brought death into the world, and all our woe, with loss of Eden, till one greater man restore us, and regain the blissful seat. Sing, heavenly muse, that on the secret top of Oreb, or of Sinai, didst inspire that shepherd who first taught the chosen seed, in the beginning how the heavens and the earth. The passage is from John Milton's Paradise Lost. Spanning over 12 books, it addressed the fall of man, including the temptation of Adam and Eve by the fallen angel Satan, and God's expulsion of them from the Garden of Eden. Other notable authors in the Caroline Age include Robert Burton and George Herbert. The Commonwealth period was so named for the period between the end of the English Civil War and the restoration of the Stuart monarchy. This is the time when Oliver Cromwell, a Puritan, led Parliament who ruled the nation. At this time, public theaters were closed to prevent public assembly and to combat moral and religious transgressions. John Milton and Thomas Hobbes's political writings appeared, while drama suffered. Prose writers such as Thomas Fuller, Abraham Cowley, and Andrew Marvell published prolifically. The Stuart Restoration began on the day of the return, in May 1660, of the Stuart monarchy to the kingdoms of England, Scotland, and Ireland, ending the Interregnum and the Commonwealth of England. The Commonwealth, having been governed by Lord Protector Oliver Cromwell and briefly his son Richard Cromwell, before political instability and the intervention of General George Monk, led to the declaration of Breda and the return of Charles II from exile. But say what you will, 'tis better to be left than never to have been loved. From the book The Way of the World by William Congreve, often regarded as a centerpiece of the Restoration period literature of England. Other notable authors in the Restoration period also include John Dryden, Samuel Butler, Alpha Ben, John Bunyan, and John Locke. To err is human, to forgive divine. A line from an essay on criticism by Alexander Pope. Other notable authors in the Augustan age include Jonathan Swift, Lady Mary Rothley Montgo, and Daniel Defoe. The image shows Samuel Johnson, a man notable for his contributions in the English language. There was a dissatisfaction with the dictionaries of the period, so in June 1746, a group of London booksellers contracted Johnson to write a dictionary for the sum of 1,500 words. His contributions to the English language was what made people also call this age the Age of Johnson. Notable authors in the Age of Sensibility include Edmund Burke, Edward Gibbon, Hester Lynch Thrale, James Boswell, Henry Fielding, Samuel Richardson, Tobias Smollett, Lawrence Sterne, William Cowper, and Thomas Percy. The eye, it cannot choose but see. We cannot bid the ear be still. Our bodies feel where'er they be, against or with our will. From William Wordsmith and Samuel Taylor Coleridge's book, Lyrical Ballads. Other notable authors in the Romantic era include William Blake, Lord Byron, John Keats, Charles Lamb, Mary Wollstonecraft, Percy Bysshe Shelley, Thomas De Quincey, Jane Austen, and Mary Shelley.
Tonight, we follow one continuous journey, from order to uncertainty, from structure to freedom. And let's begin in the Victorian period, an age defined by rules, morality, and rapid change under the reign of Queen Victoria. This period is named after her reign beginning in 1837 and lasting until her death in 1901. It was a time of major social, religious, intellectual, and economic change shaped by reforms like the Reform Bill, which expanded voting rights and awakened social awareness. Literature during this time had a purpose, which are to teach, to correct, and to reflect society. Stories were grounded in reality but always ask, what is right? What is wrong? Writers like Charles Dickens exposed poverty and injustice through Oliver Twist and The Christmas Carol, where Ebenezer Scrooge represents transformation and redemption. Charlotte Bronte gives us Jane Eyre and its strong heroine, a voice of independence. Meanwhile, George Eliot explored moral complexity and Thomas Hardy revealed the harshness of fate and society. The Victorian period then is divided into several parts. The first one is the early Victorian, which depicts reform and romantic influence. Mid-Victorian includes industrialization and realism. Late Victorian, the artistic experimentation. Pre-Raphaelites, medieval themes, vivid imagery, and lastly, the aestheticism and decadence. Art for art's sake, seen in the importance of being earnest by Oscar Wilde. Poets like Alfred, Lord Tennyson, and Robert Browning added emotional and philosophical depth. This period shaped English literature into a moral and social mirror, making it deeply realistic and socially engaging. Next, we have the Edwardian period, named after King Edward VII. It covers the years between Queen Victoria's death and the outbreak of World War I. Though short, this era produced remarkable writers like Joseph Conrad, H.G. Wells, and Henry James, which explores both society and the human mind. Poets like Yeats and Alfred Noyes, along with dramatists like George Bernard Shaw, contributed to its richness. And now, stories begin to ask, what is changing beneath society's surface? This period serves as a transition, moving literature toward deeper psychological insight and modern experimentation. Then comes the Georgian period, named after King George V. It mainly refers to poetry written during his reign, focusing on nature, simplicity, and emotion. Poets like Ralph Hodgson, John Masefield, and Rupert Brooke captured rural beauty and human feeling. Works like The Soldier and Sea Fever reflecting longing, innocence, and nostalgia. Stories ask, what beauty remains in a changing world? The Georgian period preserves lyrical simplicity and emotional clarity, offering a calm contrast before modern chaos. Then everything changes. The modern period begins the World War I and reflects a world shaken to its core. Writers boldly experiment with style, structure, and meaning. James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, Aldous Huxley explore human consciousness and modern life. Poets like T.S. Eliot echo the era's uncertainty. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. New criticism also emerges, led by figures like Woolf and Eliot, focusing on analyzing the text itself. The stories now ask, can meaning still exist in a fragmented world? Modernism revolutionized English literature through innovation, fragmentation, and deep psychological exploration. And finally, we arrive at the postmodern period beginning after the World War II. This movement is often seen as a direct response to modernism, questioning not just society, but the truth itself. Post-structuralist criticism develops, challenging fixed meanings in text. Writers like Samuel Beckett, Joseph Heller, Anthony Burgess, John Fowles experiment with narrative, time, and reality. And now the question is there even a single truth or only interpretations? Postmodern transforms literature into a space of irony, fragmentation, and multiple meanings, where readers actively create its interpretation. From Victorian morality to Edwardian transition to Georgian simplicity to modern fragmentation and last to postmodern uncertainty. English literature tells one evolving story. It is how humanity understands the world and how that understanding continues to change.
Let us hear the poem Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night, brought to us by Dylan Thomas.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way, do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
In a quiet town behind a once beautiful mansion lived a woman who never let go of the past.
Have you seen Miss Emily lately?
No, but they say she hasn't left that house in years.
After her father died, she refused to accept him.
She won't admit he's gone. She's keeping him inside the house.
Then one summer, love arrived.
Look, there she goes with Homer Baron again.
A grierson? With a northerner? This will never end well.
But something darker followed.
Yes, Miss Emily. What kind of poison?
I want arsenic.
But, what will you use it for?
I want arsenic.
Soon after, Homer Baron disappeared.
Has anyone seen him?
No, not since he entered her house that night.
Years passed, doors stayed closed. Silence filled the air until the day Miss Emily died.
Hey, they're opening the upstairs room.
My God!
There's a body in the bed.
And on the pillow beside him, a single strand of gray hair. Some secrets stay locked away forever.
Hello, my dear audiences. Welcome again to Fact or Bluff. We've finished discussing the English literature. Now let's dive into the American literature. So our first round is colonial period of American literature. Now for the first round, your first statement would be Phyllis Wheatley, Cotton Mather, William Bradford, Anne Bradstreet, and John Winthrop were notable authors of the colonial period. If you guess fact, then you are correct. These writers shaped the earliest voices of America. Anne Bradstreet became the first published American poet, while William Bradford chronicled the Pilgrims Inn of Plymouth Plantation. Cotton Mather wrote extensively as a Puritan minister. John Winthrop guided communities through sermons and journals. And Phyllis Wheatley broke barriers as the first published African American poet. Together, they gave us literature rooted in faith, survival, and identity. Now here's your second statement. A narrative of the uncommon sufferings and surprising deliverance of Britain Hammond was the first published account of an enslaved African person in America. Again, I'll give you 5 seconds to answer. If you guess bluff, then I'm sorry, but you are wrong. It is a fact. Published in Boston in 1760, Britain Hammond's narrative is a landmark work. It not only tells the story of captivity and survival, but also represents one of the earliest African American voices in print. This text reminds us that even in the colonial era, literature carried struggles and resilience of marginalized communities. So, to summarize what we've learned in this round is that in the colonial period of American literature was shaped by survival, faith, and community. Its authors gave us the earliest voices of America. And works like Britain Hammond's narrative show how literature began to reflect diverse experiences, laying the foundation for the American literary tradition. So let's move on to the next round, which is all about the Revolutionary Age. Are you ready? Philip Renaud was known as the poet of the American Revolution. If you guess fact, then you are correct. Renaud's poetry captured the passion and struggles of the Revolution. His verses celebrated freedom, criticized tyranny, and helped shape the identity of the new nation. He gave voice to the emotions of ordinary patriots through literature. Now, for your second statement, the Revolutionary Age was mostly about romantic love stories and personal diaries. I'll give you 5 seconds to answer. If you guess fact, then you are wrong. The statement is a bluff. This period wasn't about romance, it was about revolution. Literature focused on freedom, democracy, and patriotism. Pamphlets, essays, and political documents carried the energy of independence, not tales of courtly love. So here's what we learned in this round. The Revolutionary Age was the literature of independence. Writers like Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, Joel Barlow, and Philippe Freneau used words to rally colonists, debate democracy, and build national identity. Their works, from the Declaration of Independence to Common Sense and the Federalist Papers, show how literature can spark change and lay the foundation for a new republic.
After the American Revolution, the United States didn't just gain independence, it faced a new challenge, creating a cultural and literary identity. Between 1775 and 1865, American literature evolved from imitation of British models into a powerful original voice. Now, instead of just facts or bluff, I'll be sharing trivia with you. So listen closely and see if you know the answers. In a newly independent nation, literature became a tool for moral instruction and national identity. What is considered the first American novel? The answer would be The Power of Sympathy by William Hill Brown on 1789. This is considered the first American novel because it reflects the values of a newly independent nation, focusing on morality, virtue, and personal responsibility. Early American literature wasn't just for entertainment, it was meant to guide behavior and shape society. This shows how literature helped build a national identity after independence. Interesting, right? Let's move on to the next trivia. As the nation expanded, literature began to reflect its geography and identity. Which author portrayed frontier life and helped define American fiction? The answer would be James Fenimore Cooper. Cooper's works are important because they introduced uniquely American settings, especially the frontier, which was very different from European landscapes. Through this, he helped establishment themes that became central to American literature. Alright, here's another one. Think about this. The period from 1828 to 1865 is often called the Golden Age of American literature. What made it significant? The answer would be because it produced internationally recognized works exploring individuality, democracy, and human nature. This period is called the American Renaissance because writers began producing original works that gained global attention and respect. Instead of copying European styles, they explored deeper ideas about identity, freedom, and society. You're doing great! Let's keep on going. One movement shaped this era: Transcendentalism. Who led this movement? The answer would be Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emerson's ideas encourage people to trust themselves and rely on their own intuition rather than society's expectations. He believed that the truth could be found through nature and personal reflection. Next question. This one's important. Which writer lived simply in nature to practice these ideas? The answer would be Henry David Thoreau. Thoreau didn't just write about ideas. He lived them by isolating himself in nature to understand life more deeply. In Walden, he critiques materialism and argues that people should focus only on simplicity and self-reliance. His work remains influential because it challenges modern society's focus on wealth and consumption. Ready for the next trivia? Who introduced free verse to express democracy and individuality? That would be Walt Whitman. Whitman broke away from traditional poetic structures by using free verse, allowing him to express ideas more freely and naturally. His poetry celebrated democracy, equality, and the everyday experiences of ordinary people. This made poetry more accessible and reflective of the American spirit. Let's continue. Which writer is known for Gothic and psychological themes? That would be Edgar Allan Poe. Poe's works stand out because they explore the darker side of human psychology, including fear, guilt, and madness. He was one of the writers to focus on the inner workings of the mind rather than just external events. His influence can still be seen today in horror, mystery, and psychological fiction. Here's another one. Who wrote one of the first African American novels? That would be William Wells Brown, Clotho. This novel is significant because it gives voice to the experiences of enslaved people and exposes the realities of slavery. It shows how literature became a powerful tool for raising awareness and promoting social change. Through storytelling, writers were able to challenge injustice and influence public opinion. From moral guidance to identity, philosophy, and social change, American literature between 1775 and 1865 did more than tell stories. It defined a nation. Now, let's move into another round of trivia and see how literature become more realistic. Which movement portrays life as it truly is? The answer would be realism. Realism focuses on depicting everyday life accurately without exaggeration or idealization. Writers wanted to know and show how people truly lived, including their struggles and social conditions. This made literature more relatable and grounded in reality. Next question. Who portrayed life along the Mississippi River using humor and dialect? The answer would be Mark Twain. Twain used humor and regional language to make his stories feel authentic and relatable. His works often addressed serious issues like racism and morality, but in a way that was accessible to readers. This combination of realism and social critique made his writing both entertaining and meaningful. Think about this. What defines naturalism? The answer for this is that human behavior is shaped by environment, heredity, and social conditions. So, naturalism takes realism further by suggesting that people don't always have full control over their lives. Instead, their actions are influenced by forces like poverty, environment, and biology. This perspective presents a more scientific and sometimes pessimistic view of human nature. Here's another one. Who wrote about the psychological experience of war? That would be Stephen Crane. Crane's writing focuses on the psychological experience of war rather than glorifying it. He shows how fear, confusion, and instinct affect soldiers in battle. This realistic portrayal challenged a traditional heroic views of war. Next question. Which writer shows humans struggling against nature? That would be Jack London. London's stories often highlight how small and vulnerable humans are compared to nature. In his works, survival depends not just on strength but on instinct and awareness. This reflects the naturalist belief that nature is powerful and indifferent to human life. And for the last trivia of the day, who explored how poverty shapes destiny? That would be Theodore Dreiser. Dreiser's works show how a person's success or failure is often shaped by social and economic conditions. His characters struggle against forces like poverty and inequality. This highlights the naturalist idea that individuals are heavily influenced by their environment.
What do you know about the modern period in American literature?
All I know is that during this period, the writers shifted away from traditional writing, and that it is the second most influential age of the American literature.
What other things do you know?
I also know that there are specific periods included that, such as the Jazz Age, Harlem Renaissance, Lost Generation, and the Great Depression.
We have all the information about that already. Can you confirm all of it? During the Jazz Age, they are focused on economic prosperity, cultural change, and social rebellion in the United States after World War I, while the Harlem Renaissance focused on celebrating African American identity, creativity, and heritage. And during this period, the literature addresses discrimination and inequality and promotes African American culture, history, and heritage. While the Lost Generation refers to the time when the writers felt disillusioned, directionless, and disconnected from traditional values due to the trauma of war and rapid social change. Lastly, the Great Depression, which talks about stories depicting unemployment, hunger, inequality, and emphasizes on the struggles of ordinary people.
Yeah, I can confirm that is true.
Another thing, do you know anything about the Beat period?
All I know about the Pitt period was literary and cultural movement that emerged after the World War II.
Nothing more? Are you sure? You didn't know that the Beat period rejected mainstream American values like materialism, conformity, and strict social norms?
No, that is all I know, I swear.
Last question. Are you involved in any way on the contemporary period?
No, I don't have anything to do with the contemporary period. All I know is that it talks about current issues and challenges society. And during this period, American literature has become broad and varied in terms of theme, mode, and purpose. This period also combines fiction, non-fiction, poetry, and even multimedia forms, and focuses on self-identity, explores race, gender, sexuality, and personal identity.
Is that all?
Yeah. I don't have any more information about American literature.
If that's all, I'm going to ask you now about different people and what do you know about them and which period they belong.
You must answer it all honestly if you want to leave this place alive.
First question. Who is this?
That's F. Scott Fitzgerald. Belongs to the Jazz Age of modern literature. And one of his works include The Great Gatsby, which explores wealth, love, and the illusion of the American dream.
How about this one? Who is this? And what do you know about him?
That's John Steinbeck, and he belongs in the Great Depression. One of his famous works is The Grapes of Wrath, which portrays migrant families and economic injustice.
And this one?
I don't know this one.
Really? You didn't know about Zora Neale Hurston?
No, I don't know him.
She is an author from the Harlem Renaissance. She is the author of Their Eyes Were Watching God, which focuses on black identity, love, and independence.
Yeah, that's the first time I heard of her.
If you say so, but we're still keeping an eye on you. Proceed to the next one.
That's Ernest Hemingway. Out of the Sun Also Rises. He belongs in the Lost Generation. His work shows aimless expatriates in post-war Europe.
Who is this one?
That is William S. Burroughs, and he belongs in the Beat period, and one of his works includes Naked Lunch, which is an experimental and controversial narrative.
Lastly, who is this?
That is Don DeLillo, who belongs in the contemporary period, and one of his works includes White Noise, which examines consumerism and modern anxiety. Is that all the people you need to know from me?
Don't you tell me what to do. I'm done with this person. I got nothing to ask anymore. Get this person out of my sight.
Yes.
Yan bula.
House business